Sometimes when we're writing an essay and we're trying to incorporate sourced material and we want to rely on primary sources, there are moments or times where we can't access that primary source that we absolutely need. Sometimes that reason could be because it's out of print. Sometimes the reason is because we just generally can't have access to it. Let's say, for example, a journal article that our library does not subscribe to. In any case, when we are trying to use a source that we don't have access to or is not available in the language that we speak, we sometimes rely on other people who have had access to it and incorporate it into their own work. So if you find yourself in that situation, MLA has what's called an indirect quotation. This basically means that you are citing a source that is cited and or quoted in another source. So say, for example, that you are trying to use a line from Shakespeare, or in case of a research project, you're trying to use a primary source, let's say a letter that is no longer available, but somebody was able to access that in a book of theirs, and so you want to be able to use it because it's important. So if that's the case, we'll use that. But generally speaking, you want to try to avoid using indirect sources as much as possible. The reason for that is because it signals to the reader that potentially you're not doing the work yourself, or that you're relying on other people to do that work for you. And so you want to be cautious of that perception, because it might seem that you maybe don't understand the information that you're using or some version of that. If you do have to use the indirect source for whatever those necessary, it'll be clear in the works cited page, and we'll be able to access that and verify that information. So let's take a look at what that will actually look like. So in this example here, you have that, let's say you're trying to cite something from Jane Austen's book, okay? And you're not able to find or get access to Jane Austen's book called Sense and Sensibility, and yet you really absolutely need it for whatever that reason is. So in this example, you are going to cite Jane Austen's text. That is her specific novel or book. However, you're going to rely on Siegel, who is the indirect source, because Siegel is the one who is kind of exploring it or analyzing it or critiquing it. And they are using the same quote that you need, okay? So let's say you were writing this article, this essay. So let's pretend that this is your essay here, okay? And these are all your words. In his article, Siegel discusses, okay? So we are already signaling to the reader that this is coming from Siegel's work or book, but it discusses Jane Austen specifically, okay? And so it's talking about her characters. And so we're about to use a direct quotation that, again, is not Siegel's words, but Jane Austen's words. We know that because of this sentence here. For instance, in the beginning of Sense and Sensibility, Austen introduces us to the Dashwoods by saying, and here's the direct quote, "The family of Dashwood had long been settled in Sussex. Their estate was large." This is Jane Austen's words, not Siegel, but we know that it's going to be cited in Siegel. Why? Because of the because of the parenthetical citation here. One key thing you'll have to note is you'll notice that here it says quoted in. QTD, means quoted. And this is how you're going to mark it in the parenthetical citation. So quoted in, and then we're going to have the source, Siegel, on page 252. So what does that mean for the works cited page? Well, you're not going to have Jane Austen cited in the works cited page because you didn't take it from her actual text. You took it from Siegel's text. So we should see Siegel's work, okay, in the works cited page. And we can see here that it's Jane Austen, The Fiction of Culture. And we have the last name Siegel, so we can pair it up. So this here matches this here.